Welcome into Seattle Seahawks Today. I am your host, Tom Downey, here to break down all the latest Seahawks rumors for you guys. And we're going to begin with a very familiar name. That is KJ Wright. Now, a potential KJ Wright return, I do believe, is in the cards. Pete Carroll mentioned this on the Wednesday press conference, the one before the NFL draft, which was a day later than most teams because Seattle had no first-round pick, that he recently spoke to KJ Wright and that the door is still open for a return. And it's also worth mentioning Seattle did not draft a linebacker, and they only brought in 1.5 in an undrafted free agency. We'll get to that later on. Now, Wright has said he's open to staying in Seattle, and I truly believe him when he says that. But he also would not take a hometown discount. Now, he said that right before the start of NFL free agency, and I thought, oh yeah, KJ Wright, coming off the year he had, 86 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, he played so good. Yeah, there's no way he's going to resign. And yet, here we are, after the NFL draft, with Wright not having joined the team. I don't think his market has been very good. So the hometown discount might just be what his market actually is. So if you guys want KJ Wright back, and at this point, I'm totally down because I think the cost is going to be fairly efficient. I want you guys to like this video. Do it right now. Let's see how many of you guys want Wright back in Seattle. Now, as I kind of mentioned, I thought Wright played awesome this past year. And the reason why I very publicly was like, yeah, you probably don't want to bring him back, blah, 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 is in large part due to the fact that I thought he was going to be too expensive. I thought after the type of year that Wright put together, he was going to have more success. He was going to get a big contract from somebody out there, way more than what the Seahawks are going to be prepared to pay him, and they were going to move on because, you're keeping Bobby Wagner because you're not a dumb organization. You're going to give Jordan Brooks a bigger role after the first-round pick, showed some promise in his first year. You got Cody Barton there if you want him as well, and for the cost, it just didn't make any sense. But Wright is still out there. And Seattle, in terms of reliable linebackers, it's Barton, it's Wagner, it's Brooks, it's maybe Ben Burkervin, and not much else. And the market for free agent linebackers right now is not particularly strong. Again, it's KJ Wright, there's Quan Alexander, Avery Williamson, Devondre Campbell, maybe Tahir Whitehead as well. So with Seattle not drafting anybody and adding only one true potential active roster player in John Radigan from Army, that's a thin linebacker depth chart right now. That is two starters, Cody Barton, Ben Burkervin, and a rookie undrafted free agent, and who knows about Aldon Smith. So because of that, I think there is at least a possibility that Wright ends up joining the Seahawks and ends up re-signing, unless a different team that missed out on a linebacker ends up having interest and makes a bigger offer. Maybe the Niners. I know Wright kind of mentioned that on Twitter, that what's wrong with San Francisco type of deal there. I think that could be in the cards. So get your votes in right now. Do you believe Seattle will re-sign KJ Wright? Type Y for yes or type in N for no. We won't spend too much time on this note, but it was news, and I wanted to mention it. Rashaad Penny had his option declined. This does not come as a surprise to any single person watching out there because it was pretty obvious. A $4.523 million option for 2022, mind you, still under contract for now, for this year, was not picked up by Seattle. This was a very, very obvious decision. It didn't make sense for Seattle to pick up Penny, who I think for now is still going to be the RB2 on this team, the former first-round pick. It was also DJ Dallas, Travis Homer, Alex Collins, and some current and former undrafted free agents like Patrick Carr, BJ Emmons, and Josh Johnson as well. For the career, this is not what the Seahawks are hoping for. This is like 1 year is what they were hoping to get at minimum out of Rashaad Penny. 5.1 average is great, but he's always been hurt. Chris Carson's been better than him. And in reality, the Rashaad Penny pick, the source of my Twitter profile picture reaction, because I hated it, has been a disaster. So after 3 years, I want you guys to grade this pick for me. Be honest, because let's be real here. It's probably not very good. Get your votes in. A, B, C, D, or an F. We've seen 3 years of Rashaad Penny so far. What are you giving this pick? I'm pretty underwhelmed by it. I think this has been a disaster. I hated the selection at the time, and I really don't think it's gotten any better either. So I don't know how anyone can justify giving this an A. I can maybe see like a C or a D. I think this is a D or an F pick. This has not been an acceptable draft selection by Seattle. And I know he missed a lot of time last year. He did not look like the same player. And I will make this point for Penny and if there are any Penny truthers still out there in Seahawks area. He is still young. He is still talented. And there is still a chance that this year is finally the year that Rashaad Penny breaks out. Maybe he's fully healthy. Maybe he thrives in the passing game as well. But at this point, it's been pretty disappointing. Seattle Seahawks Today is available on the Newsbreak app. We have not yet reached 200 downloads using our link, chatsports.com/SeahawksNB. So if you haven't already, help us out here. I know there's at least 200 plus people who are watching this video right now who haven't downloaded it. And if you're like me, you have built this nice little sports bubble where it's just sports news on Twitter and on your Facebook and Instagram, whatever, which actually probably isn't a good thing for you because then you have no idea what's going on in your community because I'm sure most of you don't get the paper delivered anymore. So download the app today using our link. It's right there, bottom of your screen at chatsports.com/SeahawksNB. Let's once again discuss Richard Sherman and his possible return with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Sherman mentioned this on the Friday of the NFL draft, and I think it got completely ignored because his timing was terrible. Why are you dropping information about the teams you've spoken with on the Friday of the NFL draft? There's drafts going on. I think it got totally missed by the national news media, so we're breaking it down today for you guys here. Sherman had mentioned previously as well that he was probably going to sign after the NFL draft was over. Seattle, though, has some options on the roster at cornerback. Now, Pete Carroll was asked about it, said that he still has kept up good relations with Richard Sherman, all those things, offered some praise, but also mentioned this part. Here's what Pete Carroll had to say. That's not one of our thoughts right now, that we're going to go out and get another veteran guy at cornerback. But we're going to keep looking. We're not going to stop looking. We're going to compete. So in that sense, I leave everything open, and that's just one of them. Go ahead and do whatever you want with it, but that's where it is. Now, I will read between the lines here. Probably not going to happen. Richard Sherman is coming off a not great year for San Francisco. These metrics from our friends over at Pro Football Reference. Was great, though, in 2019. Was a legitimate lockdown number one corner. And I do think there's going to be interest in Sherman. He can still help an NFL team. Now, as part of the interview he did with ESPN, Sherman mentioned 4.5, I'll explain the 0.5 in a second here, teams he's had contract, or at least spoken with. Las Vegas, the New York Jets, New Orleans Saints, and Seattle. He also mentioned he was open to a return for San Francisco. That wasn't one of the four, quote-unquote, but I mentioned all five here. The Raiders make sense. There's some familiarity there. I think he likes John Gruden, wants to be on the West Coast. The Jets with Robert Saleh, that was my initial prediction. I'm still going to stick by that. They could use some more cornerback help as well. The Saints are intriguing. He would be a fantastic mentor for third-round rookie Paulson Adebo. And then there's Seattle. And with where things sit at their cornerback depth chart, I do think Sherman could come in and start for this team. But it's not just about that. It's also about being aware of what the roster looks like and a numbers game that is going to happen here. Now, I think it's Marquise Blair, Ugo Amadi in the nickel corner role. DJ Reed can help that if needed too, and it can all play some safety as well. But Akello Witherspoon, Reed, Pierre Desir, Trey Flowers, fourth-round rookie Trey Brown, signing Demarius Randall, and a bunch of other former undrafted free agents are all there. Seattle already goes, and this doesn't include Gavin Helslop here either, they go 12 deep at the cornerback position already. Now, we can easily cross off four of those names in terms of making the roster, but as things sit already, not everybody on that depth chart's going to make the team at cornerback. So you could bring in Sherman. I'm open to that. I think Seattle at some level is, especially if the cost ends up coming down low enough, he'll probably retire as a Seahawk, but I don't think this year is quite the right timing. So I'm curious what you guys think here. What is the percent chance that you think Seattle brings back Richard Sherman? Rate it for me on a scale of 0 to 100. 0 means there's no chance. 100% means the deal's already been signed. You guys just don't know yet. Get your votes in the comments section. If Seattle does add some more players, you better believe we'll break it down here on Seattle Seahawks Today. Bunch of new subscribers. We got over 20K already. Let's keep it going, though. All right, the NFL season, it's coming up in the near future, and we're not going to go anywhere. So if you want more videos on your favorite team, hit that big red button and subscribe today. Let's get to one more news item here. Aaron Donkor has signed with the Seattle Seahawks. This is an unusual signing, not one we've ever discussed before on the Seahawks channel, at least I don't believe. This is part of an international player pathway program. A couple players each year get to be a part of this. Seattle got Aaron Donkor as a result of this. Now, the way this works is that Seattle gets an extra practice squad spot, an extra roster spot just for him. He is exempt in terms of the 90-man roster in the offseason, and there is an extra practice squad spot reserved for him if they so choose that, because Donkor is originally from Germany. Now, unlike a lot of these player pathway guys, he actually did play some college football. He spent 1 year at Arkansas State, was also part of the New Mexico Military Institute. I have no idea what that is. Previously, was more of an edge rusher for those teams. Didn't play a ton for Arkansas State. 25 tackles, the 1.5 tackle for loss. He was listed by them at 6'2", 240, so I'm going to put him as a strong side linebacker for this team. He's probably not going to make the roster this year. I would be stunned if that was the case. He would really have to impress, but he will be on the practice squad because, simply put, there's not much of a reason to not put him on there if you're Seattle.